actually here for to witness this. Yes, so let me put F11 on this. Shoo! Ladies and gentlemen, Russell Wilson is officially a New York Giant. Now, without honesty, how do I really feel about this? Now, I am honestly happy. And by the way, first and foremost, guys, before we actually get into like my honest opinion about this, I just want to say good to see you guys again. It's been a little over a week since I uploaded on YouTube, which is actually insane to me because if you guys actually been keeping up with my Instagram, so make sure you guys go follow if you haven't followed, same thing as my YouTube. But if you've been keeping up with there, I've been pretty active on there, TikTok as well. And when I look back at my YouTube and to see it was over a week, I was like, dang. So it's time to post another video. And I got a lot more videos. So don't, for my rugby people or my basketball, like Larry Bird people and stuff like that, we still got a lot more reactions to do. So hopefully they come back around once we start doing that. But we'll do that for another time. But Russell Wilson is officially a Giant. Honestly, he played really good in the Steelers. Like honestly, if any of you guys know what football is and you guys know what the pigskin look like we're not talking about it's a circle shape. We're talking about it's an oval shape. We're talking about it's Stewie's head. This is a football right here. You see what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen? This is a football. It's a football. Okay? And we're not talking about the Spanish. No, football. No. American football. This is a football. Okay? You see the shape of it? This is literally the shape of a football. So what I'm trying to say is that, bro, Russell Wilson, the football player that he is, played well in Pittsburgh. And yes, his defense was letting him down, but as a quarterback, in the quarterback position, he was playing really well. Now, honestly, I'm not even upset about it. I'm honestly happy. But you know what? This is the plan. I realistically think that if Shedeur Sanders is there at number 3, the Giants is not going to pass up on him. But if they take Shedeur Sanders, they're 100% going to take Travis Hunter. But I will say this. They'll take Travis Hunter, but then we're probably going to get Jackson Dart, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to trade him probably in the back end of the first round or the second round, and we're going to get him. Because mind you, even though we just got Jameis Winston, and now we officially signed Russell Wilson, does not mean we are done adding quarterbacks. We are going to get one in the draft, and mark my words on that. We are going to get one. But yes, Russell Wilson. Now, this is going to help us a lot. Our team is doing a lot better on defense. We're going to be so much better on defense. You guys already seen the signings that we make. And yo, them Eagles fans, let me tell you, them Eagles fans, they shake it. Eagles, we finding some competition now. Because realistically, think about it, guys. Russell Wilson, Tyrone Tracy, Theo Johnson, and we're not even talking about Daniel Bellinger either, too. We need to learn how to utilize them. But when we tap into the potential, they can be really good players. Wan'Dale Robinson, okay? Like, let's not forget that. We got Darius Slayton back on a new contract. Like I said, Malik Neighbors. And imagine if we get Travis Hunter, we put Jackson Dart there with a Russell Wilson, and in our defense with Javon Holland, Paulson Adebo, Kayvon Thibodeau, and then the new, bro. Oh, mind you, too, we still got caps. And mind you, we still got the rest of the picks in the draft. We're going to use alignment. Guys, this is our year. This is our year. This is the year. The year the Commanders had where people doubted them, where they didn't think they was going to have the year that they had, where they went to the championship game, is what we're going to have. Not saying we're going to go to the championship game, but we're going to have an underrated good season. Because like I said, either with Shedeur Sanders, because mind you too, if you guys don't understand this, if we also get Shedeur Sanders, this is how it could play out too. If we get Shedeur Sanders, we definitely going to get a receiver in the second round. Second or third round, but we're definitely going to get another receiver. For sure. Or we're probably going to start one in free agency to see how that goes. But that's how I was going to plan out. So either way, it seemed like our future's bright. Our future's bright, and the Eagles is scared. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited for this. So there is actually a video to this. If I can actually pull it up, let me see if I can show you. Now we're gonna watch a little bit of this video, ladies and gentlemen, just because this is talking about his final chapters here, and I guess this is when he officially signed with us, ladies and gentlemen, the New York Football Giants. So here we go. Let's get
where Russell Wilson is signing with the New York Giants. He was in discussions with the Browns and Steelers before electing to sign with the Giants. It's a one-year deal worth up to $21 million, with 10.5 of that coming in guarantees. Seahawk turned Steeler will now join a Giants team that went just 3-14 last year.
After a redemption season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson actually made his decision.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put some cap. Will the captions help? Maybe they would. Let's see. Let's rewind.
After a redemption season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson actually made his decision. And it's a very unique decision to make considering the
Let's take off captions. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. So sorry again. So sorry.
Redemption season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson actually made his decision. And it's a very unique decision to make considering the previous video that we made on this YouTube channel. So before we get to the content, we dropped our third video on Uni Diamond Talk. It's a crazy story on Yasiel Puig. We're still giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on that channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Russell Wilson entered a very unique offseason for himself. 1 year after he completely rebuilt his reputation, taking a veteran minimum contract from the Pittsburgh Steelers to prove that it was the Denver Broncos' fault for putting him in a bad situation and that he wasn't the problem after all. Russell Wilson put together a pretty interesting season. I mean, he came out of the gate swinging for the Pittsburgh Steelers when he took over as their starter over Justin Fields in a controversial decision by Mike Tomlin. Immediately, he led the Pittsburgh Steelers to 4 straight wins, and their offense looked completely different with him on the field. And probably his most impressive win was in Week 13 against the Cincinnati Bengals, a classic shootout that had Russell Wilson looking like vintage Russell Wilson.
And mind you too, ladies and gentlemen, we don't even have the type of players that the Steelers have. And what I mean by that is we have way better receivers than the Steelers have. And mind you, we're gonna add more in the draft. Come on, man.
29 out of 38 of his passes, throwing for over 400 passing yards and 3 touchdowns versus the Cincinnati Bengals. But that would be the final time we'd see Russell Wilson actually look like his old self, because after that, his play kind of fell off. He would lead the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 1-5 record for the rest of the season, and while he did show that he still had some...
No. See, this is where they fail to understand. It's like that because the defense was failing them. So because Wilson lost some of those games, they're gonna get tallied based off those games. You gotta tally them off the season. Like, what are you doing?
Some ability to turn the clock back, he still wasn't the same mobile Russell Wilson that he was with the Seattle Seahawks. It was still clear that he was capable of playing quality football if he was given the chance to do so. And that's not the only thing that made his market so interesting. It was also the teams that were in need of a quarterback this offseason. The main suitors for a brand new quarterback would be the Las Vegas Raiders, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns, or Russ could even return to his old team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. At this point, I'm sure most quarterbacks would do everything they possibly can to avoid going to the Cleveland Browns. And although it would be hysterical to watch Russell Wilson defect to a division rival, Russell Wilson pretty much had a very difficult choice to make. You see, on one hand, it was very obvious that the Pittsburgh Steelers were just waiting on Aaron Rodgers to commit to them, which is already a dangerous game in its own right, because Aaron Rodgers is clearly taking his time with his decision as to who he wants to play football for next, or if he wants to play football football at all. But the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't tell Russell
Aaron Rodgers ain't worth it.
Wilson that they wanted to bring him back yet was a clear indication of what their plans were. So that pretty much left Russell Wilson with two teams to decide between. On one hand, you have the Cleveland Browns, who had so much potential a couple years ago and still have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. They have the number 2 pick in the NFL draft this year. Everybody feels like they're going to draft Abdul Carter and put him next to Myles Garrett to form one of the most terrifying pass rushes in the entire NFL. You don't necessarily have the greatest wide receiver core to throw the football to, but you do have a trustworthy head coach in Kevin Stefanski. But there's a huge albatross hanging over you in the form of Deshaun Watson's contract, and that isn't a situation that's going to get better anytime soon. On the other hand, you have the New York Giants, who are 1 year removed from drafting Malik Neighbors, who looks like a superstar at the wide receiver position, but possess the 4th worst offensive line in the entire NFL. And it seems like Russell
What kind of fan are you? You tell me. Hey, you know what? You tell me what kind of fan you are. You're a Colts fan. You're a Daniel Jones fan. What kind of statement did you just make? Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. What kind of statement did you just make right now? What kind of statement did you just make right now? Huh?
the 4th worst offensive line in the entire NFL. And it seems like
This dude never heard of a word called injuries. Yeah, this dude's a Colts fan. Automatic Colts fan. Automatic. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. You don't watch my team. You go. This is why. You have not been relevant since Peyton Manning. Get out of my face with that.
Russell Wilson made his decision. So according to Adam Schefter, ESPN sources, the New York Giants and Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson reached agreement today on a 1-year deal worth up to $21 million, including the $10.5 million guaranteed. The 10-time Pro Bowl selection had been in discussion with the Giants, Browns, and Steelers, but is opting for New York, where Wilson won his Super Bowl in MetLife Stadium. Now, Wilson's returning there as the Giants' projected starting QB. This is exactly what I meant when I said that Aaron Rodgers is essentially holding the Pittsburgh Steelers hostage, because now if Aaron Rodgers comes out and tells the Pittsburgh Steelers that he's retiring, they're effectively screwed. Justin Fields went to the New York Jets. Russell Wilson went to the New York Giants, and Giants fans are a little confused because they thought all along that they were just going to select Shedeur Sanders at the number 3 overall pick. So a lot of insiders are confused about why the New York always felt like the most likely signing of the vets the Giants pursued. Adding him with Winston already under contract is unusual though, and I'm not gonna lie, it is. There's a reason why I made a video on the New York Giants plan. I thought their plan was you're gonna have Jameis Winston and you're gonna select Shedeur Sanders, and you're gonna have Shedeur Sanders trying to learn the nuances of the NFL, and maybe in the very beginning of the season you're just gonna throw Jameis Winston out to the Wolves. You know, because the New York Giants do have the 4th worst offensive line in the NFL. So if you wanted to wait a couple of weeks while Shedeur Sanders tries to learn the nuances of the NFL, then you can have Jameis Winston essentially occupying the same role that Jacoby Brissett occupied for the New England Patriots last year with Drake May. You know, very similar situation. The Patriots had no offensive weapons. They had no offense.
Let's be honest. Let's say this. Drake May is a solid quarterback. I think he's going to be solid for the Patriots. I don't know how far he will take them. I will say that. But I will say that I think he's going to be a solid quarterback for the Patriots. Definitely.
Line. They didn't want to throw Drake May to the Wolves right away, so they had Jacoby Brissett play quarterback for the first couple of weeks of the NFL season. And that was the role that Jameis Winston was supposed to occupy. So the veteran presence in New York was supposed to be filled. So why would the Giants make this decision? It's not that they're choosing Russell Wilson over Shedeur Sanders, because according to Adam Schefter, Shedeur Sanders is still on the table.
But let's live in a universe here where Russell Wilson picks the Giants. I still think with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and Tommy, I still think the Giants may go ahead and take Shedeur Sanders at number 3.
No, this is more about the New York Giants protecting themselves. You see, throughout the entire Brian Daboll era, there has never been a consistent quarterback option for the New York Giants. And I almost feel bad for Brian Daboll because he was brought in originally to try to ensure that Daniel Jones could turn into the next coming of Josh Allen? And for one season, Daniel Jones actually looked like a pretty solid QB, his first season with Brian Daboll. But obviously the New York Giants always had issues. They had problems with their offensive line. Their general manager preferred to pay their wide receiver 2 the same amount of money as their best player on their roster and just let the best player on their roster walk away to their division rival and literally win them a Super Bowl. I mean, fans are very confused. And if you're a fan of the New York Giants, you don't know whether or not you should trust your general manager at this point. And I can't blame you. I don't know if I could trust my GM if he has all these clips on HBO's Hard Knocks of him just looking like a complete buffoon. I mean, there's footage of his son making better decisions as a general manager than him.
Give me a name.
Jaden Daniels. Trade up and get him. Why not?
Okay, if Jaden Daniels...
You only get this job once. Try to win.
And that's not to say Jaden Daniels is bad, it's just the son kind of gave his dad some pretty good advice there. So why would the New York Giants do this? Well, according to Josina Anderson, with Jameis Winston already on the roster at his cost and the upcoming draft, this feels like a panic move by the Giants, especially given what I just heard today regarding one team's current view that Cleveland sounds potentially open to trading back per a league source. If you take a look at this year's NFL draft, it's pretty unique because the number 1 pick is Cam Ward, and he doesn't have the amount of hype that Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels had last year, or Trevor Lawrence in 2021, or Andrew Luck in 2012. And that's not to say that he can't have a better career than any of those players, but obviously there isn't that once in a generation type prospect as a result of it. Given the offseason moves that the Titans made, it's pretty obvious that they're going to select Cam Ward at the number 1 overall pick. The Cleveland Browns are a little bit more enigmatic at number 2. You see, originally the theory was that the Cleveland Browns were just going to trade Myles Garrett and get a bunch of draft picks because they probably couldn't afford to keep him anyway, and then replace Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter. But then they decided to pay Myles Garrett $40 million a year and reset the edge rusher position. Crazy. Myles Garrett went from wanting to win to feeling like he could win in Cleveland, which I can't blame him. That's life-changing money, and I'm very happy for Myles Garrett. But then you take a look at their quarterback position, and it's even more strange. You have Deshaun Watson, whose cap hit is insane. I mean, they restructured his contract so his cap hit is only $36 million this year, but next year it's $81.6 million, and this is fully guaranteed money, by the way, we're talking about. And you can't cut Deshaun Watson because his dead cap hit would be $172 million, and he can't even play for you this year because he tore his Achilles. So some fans are speculating maybe the Cleveland Browns could potentially take a quarterback this year because there's no way they're re-signing Deshaun Watson after his contract expires. But then fans are speculating that the Cleveland Browns would just stand pat and select Abdul Carter anyway and pair him with Myles Garrett, which makes things very exciting. You could have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Your pass rush could be the identity of your team for years to come. It's a move that's been working out for the Cleveland Browns because they've been very good in football games despite having some of the worst quarterback play in their franchise's history. But at the same time, this year's draft class is very deep at the edge rusher position. So a team could easily trade up with the Cleveland Browns up to the number 2 overall pick and select Shedeur Sanders. And that is what the New York Giants are afraid of. And it's very simple and intelligent math by the New York Giants and the Cleveland Browns. I mean, here's the best way I could quantify it. If you go to ESPN and you look at their big board, the number 1 prospect is Abdul Carter. He's graded out a 94. He's number 1 in his overall position rank. When you go down a little bit more, number 2 at his position is Jalen Walker out of Georgia, a 92 grade. Then you go down a little bit more and you got Mykel Williams, who's a 91. This is a loaded draft class at edge rusher, and when you're the Cleveland Browns and it seems like there's going to be some gloomy days ahead and you've hopefully learned your lesson from gutting out your entire team out of its assets by trading for Deshaun Watson and literally hooking up the team that you traded with, the Houston Texans, with multiple assets to
Ladies and gentlemen, this is this is what happens when you give a quarterback a fully guaranteed contract and they can't be able to perform. Like, live up to that.
Expedite their rebuild, it's a no-brainer to trade back if the opportunity presents itself. Because the Cleveland Browns have multiple needs outside of edge rusher. I mean, offensive line, quarterback, running back, safety. So trading back is a very real possibility for the Cleveland Browns. The New York Giants understand that. So this signing of Russell Wilson is essentially insurance to make sure that if a team does hop over them and select Shedeur Sanders, they still have an option under center moving forward. I know personally Shedeur Sanders seems like he wants to go to the New York Giants, and I made a video that I'm going to leave in the end screen explaining why he is the perfect fit for the New York Giants. But I honestly think this is a brilliant move by the Giants anyway, because if you do draft Shedeur Sanders, you still have him on a rookie scale contract. Having Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Shedeur Sanders in a quarterback room sounds like a great way to bring in a rookie. And let's say you do select Shedeur Sanders anyway, then you don't have the pressure of playing him right away. Again, this is the fourth worst offensive line in the entire NFL, which also opens up additional possibilities for the New York Giants if someone else comes in and selects Shedeur Sanders. What's the Giants' second biggest need aside from quarterback in the NFL draft? Cornerback. So this opens up options for them. Let's say someone comes in and takes Shedeur Sanders, or let's say they want to address cornerback instead of QB and kick the can a little bit further down the road till
because we're not gonna get Cam Ward. Most likely it's gonna be number one. That's gonna get. Who the hell is that? Give me 1 second. Hold on.
next year, because they don't want to put a quarterback behind this terrible offensive line.
Yeah, I think we're gonna cap it off right there, ladies and gentlemen. But man, Russell Wilson to the Giants. The Eagles are scared. You can say whatever you want, but Giants, we're gonna have an underrated season this year, and be very optimistic. We either gonna have Travis Hunter with Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders with some other type of receiver in the draft. And then, yeah, obviously, better lineman. We still got money for free agency, so it's gonna be an underrated season, y'all. Underrated season. Eagles are scared. Woo!